LaLanne, were you responsible for booking Jack on that show?
Yes, I was. I was responsible for booking him. Actually, what happened, I got a call from somebody over in Oakland, not him, but it was, I think it was a gal or a guy, and he said, they said, we got a guy over here who can do push-ups through your whole show. I said, wow, that sounds great. And I said we could pan over to him and during the show. So that's how it all happened.
Did you believe it, that someone could do that?
Well, it sounded good. I didn't know whether we could do it or not. I thought that was, and then of course in those days they made fun of muscle men, in the movies and everything, like dying and they don't have any brains.
That's when I did push-ups all through a show. Then a couple of weeks later, I was on the Art Baker You Asked For It show. That's when I broke the world's record in push-ups.
That's true. That's right.
Anyway,
that's how
see,
it
a
happened.
lot of this equipment here, I invented way back, like I say, in 1931, I started inventing different pieces of equipment. I'd go to a blacksmith. I'd draw everything out that I wanted, and they'd make everything by hand, and that's why a lot of this equipment was all made by hand.
That's right.
This was the original.
And I'll show you that in a minute. Okay? All right?
Well, thank you very, very much.
Okay.
I want to thank you. You've done a great, wonderful job. Thank you for being my very new best friend.
And if you'd like to follow me now, we'll go out and I'll show you what he's talking about. Okay?
I'm rolling. Actually, you know what? If you don't mind, tell us where we are first because it's a completely different gym. Yeah.
Well, I want to welcome you to come into our museum here, and I'd like to show you some of the parts of this. What happened was that we built this place, and we had no intention of living here permanently. So therefore, we put a gym, the one that you just saw, we put a gym in the house, and which was more modern equipment. This was down in our home in Los Angeles, and actually it came from his gym in Oakland when we moved to LA in 1958 and 59. We brought down a lot of equipment from his gym and the equipment that he actually invented. And right now, you heard him talking about the leg extension machine and how he rehabilitated his legs with the leg extension machine. This is the leg extension machine that he was talking about. You can see that's all handmade, all hand hammered. This is what they call the just a leg extension. It's used all over the world, and this is what he never patented before. And this is, I like to work out here because it's more like free weights. You know what I mean? Whereas when the equipment today, you're just doing the same thing because the equipment tells you what to do, and this way you tell the equipment what to do. So that's just why I like to work out in this gym. It's all this old equipment, but it does the job, Okay, now follow me on over here. And this machine is called the Smith machine. But however, Jack invented it but never patented it. A fellow by the name of Rudy Smith, which is a very good friend of ours, had worked for Vic Tanny at one point. And when Jack, the blacksmith that Jack talked about was Paul Martin in Oakland, California. And when Vic Tanny decided to go into business, he came up and saw Jack's gym, and then and saw the equipment that he had. And then he opened in 1941, I believe, or something like that, in Los Angeles. He opened a gym in Los Angeles, but he went to Paul Martin to get his equipment and buy the equipment. So what does he do? Paul Martin sells Vic Tanny, and then of course Vic Tanny went all over the country, and then all of this stuff went all over the country because it was purchased from Paul Martin. And so this is called the Smith machine, but Rudy did patent the idea. But this is the very first one, and it's a squat machine. Jack in those days had worked out with the doctors and chiropractors weren't, together. And so what happened, he had all these people that he was working with. The doctors would send him for back patients. And in order for him not to hurt their backs when they do the squats, Jack invented this machine. And you You can go down and up and down and up, and you cannot bend over, hurt your back, or pull your back because you're in that one position. So this is, and you can see right in here where it's all, you know, handmade, all hand done, all in here and all up here. So this is the very first one. And now I'm going to bring you over here. Well, I'll just mention this. You know, when people are working out with the weights, he made this so they can put so their arms can go way down and they won't be restricted. So he invented this little idea where you can pull this out and then your arms can go in here, see? And now this is the pulling machine. And years ago, in the 30s, they had the barbells, dumbbells, and everybody would do cleans and jerks or whatever they called them. And they would go to the foundry and they would have these plates. The plates had the holes in the middle. As you see over here underneath, you can check those out. See, that's the way they came. They didn't come chromed, however. Jack is the first one to chrome these plates. They were just black and ugly. But then when Jack opened the first gym, he wanted something wonderful and as he said, rugs on the floor and plants all around and chrome everywhere. And mirrors. He's a big one for mirrors to see how you're doing and working out if you're doing it properly. And this is the weight selector and a pulley. Now, pulley machines people use pulley machines, but they never used them in quite this way. Jack went to the foundry, got the plates, and then he designed this weight selector where you see you can have the different increments, 10, 20, 30, 40 pounds, and then you would put this down, close the lever here, put it down to the amount of weight you want, and then, there you go. Let me put this down. And then I can't pull, that's too heavy. Pull up the amount of weight you want with the pulley, you see. So he made this one for this particular exercise. And as he showed you this is what he was showing you earlier in the other gym. And this is where I come out. This is where I work out. And this is one of the exercises that I do every morning. And that's one of the things he was showing you. You might have come over here with me. This is called, he didn't mention this, but I'm going to mention it. This is called a calf machine. I can't, the lever, it's too hard for me. But if you put this on your shoulders and you go this way. But see, if I brought this closer over here, then I would be able to do it with working the calves. This is specifically for working the calves. And you see the calves go way down here, and then you go up on your toes and down, and you're working your muscles. Okay, now let's walk over here. And if you'll notice, Jack, some of these pictures over here with Jack hand balancing, he would do the hand balance would do the blocks. He would do, this is how he got people to come to his gym. And he was a great hand balancer. And he would build these blocks up way up high and without ever touching the ground, this way and that way. And then this is some blocks he used. And of course, these are his hands. He would go down and pick up a handkerchief and do handstands and whatnot. And these are his actual hands, where he had them fit, cast to his hands. Got to it this way. So that's that. Now, this is probably, he talked about we showed you the Fitness King in the other gym, and this is probably one of the first ones that was made. The other one was a little fancier, but this has the instead of the pin selector. Actually, our friend Harold Zinkin came up. He invented universal gym equipment, and you saw us using that in the other gym. Now he he came up with the idea of a pin selector instead of this kind of a weight. Now Jack designed this, which this was the forerunner of the Fitness King, and you can do over 210 exercises with this. And as you notice, I was doing some exercises like this in the other room, and I was kind of losing my balance. So I said to Jack, Jack, when you made this machine, I lose my balance all the time. He says, I'll fix that. So he went to the foundry and he made this little piece here, a hole to put this bar in. So then when I do my exercises with this, with my, as I showed you in the other gym, I hold on to this and I can just go at it tooth and tong here. And this actually over here is the forerunner of the Fitness King. This is very crude. You can see how crudely this is made, all handmade. And this bar, you actually, you lift it up and you can, I can see why just men do this, but you can put it to any spot you want, you see, and then you can take this and oh gosh, she's got that pin selector way down there. Too heavy for me right now. But anyway, this is kind of the forerunner because this goes up and down. You can go bring it all the way up here or bring it all the way down there. And that's kind of our little museum that we have here. And we hope someday when we have a little museum someplace. We're looking at Branson right now, but and maybe in a few years. Our son is kind of taking over that little deal, but we'll see what happens.
I'd like to ask you a couple more questions,
Sure.
actually. On the show itself, what were your duties on the show? You did a lot of work behind the scenes, didn't you?
You mean was Jack LaLanne show?
Yes.
Oh yes. Well, we had an agency. You know, when we first started, we came down here and we thought we ought to get an agency. We had Compton Agency, and then as time went on, we wanted to go syndication, and it wasn't feasible for them or for us, money-wise, to keep the agency. So one of the fellows came over from the agency, Lyle Westcott. And so then we decided to bicycle our shows all around the country. And so that's what I was, sort of ran the office, and we had the mail order business. And we had a number of people working for us. And in those days, we used to come, I can't tell you when we first came to LA, we used to get sacks full of mail. I mean, thousands of letters and people buying the Glamour Stretcher or the Pro 60 or Pro 70 or whatever. And I'll take you into the office on our way in and I'll show you some of the products if you'd like to see some of the products we sold so we could keep ourselves on the air. But my duties were so many. I mean, I just did everything. I mean, there wasn't, before I went with Jack, I was on radio. I mean, from television, I went to radio because a fellow left my way bought a radio station. So then I put the station on the air. I had to become a member of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, and I had to join that to put the station on the air. And I learned a lot there. And then I went with Jack, and then of course we were married, but later on. But we were so busy we didn't have time to get married. But we make a good team, I think. But my duties were so many I couldn't even begin to tell you. I would type up the schedule every day. Okay, what are you going to talk about today? Well, let's see. Let's open the show with I'll show. He always opened the show with some kind of a catch, and then we'd say, well, this will be an exercise segment, which all came out of his head. We didn't know what he was going to do, and then the commercial is going to be today will be Glamour Stretcher, and so there might be an idea, a nucleus of an idea for the Glamour Stretcher, and then he would expound on that. And then some of his commercials, when in the first, they didn't have any time schedule. Sometimes they last 2 minutes. But then as time went on, Jack, you got to keep this to 1 minute, Jack. And so he learned it, what 1 minute was, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. He's still in this brain when people say, when we go to different stations and he's interviewed, he says, could you give us a little promo, Jack, for our station? And so he'll do a 10-second or a 30-second, and it's just still ingrained in his brain. So, but then I would type up the ideas and just be there for just everything.
You mentioned bicycling the shows. What does that mean?
Well, bicycling the shows, oh, you never heard of that? Well, bicycling shows means that we'd have certain areas. We'd have the West Coast, we'd have the East Coast, we have the Central, and then we have the South. In other words, so the shows would start out in Los Angeles. We'd do them in Los Angeles. And then we would go, and then that would be 5 shows we would send out, five shows. And the first, well, we used to send out these 2-inch tapes. I mean, mailing them. And there would be 5, like this. And they would go from Los Angeles area to Seattle, say. And Seattle would send them to Spokane. Spokane would send them to this one. And then they would go in the cycle of the West Coast. And it would come like a bicycle, like this. And then then they would go off to another cycle over in the East, and then to the South. And then we'd go, all the shows would come back, we'd clean them up, and that's how we did it.
One final question. What's your favorite Jack LaLanne story?
Oh, my favorite Jack LaLanne story. Oh, I've never thought of that. My favorite Jack LaLanne story is just Jack LaLanne. I guess, let me think. I just can't think of one right now off the top of my head. If you let me think a little while, I'd probably think, after we're off the camera, I'll think of a whole bunch of them, But right now, I guess my favorite Jack LaLanne story is that anything in life is possible. And I mean, he says it all the time. He really gave me, because I smoke cigarettes, ate bear claws and chocolate donuts and all that. I guess my favorite Jack, I tell this every time we lecture. I say, well, when I first met Jack, we were in the newsroom, and the newsroom wasn't any bigger than this gym, I don't think, maybe a little bigger. I would walk in the door, he would be here with our director, and I would walk down to the end, and I'd be smoking my cigarette, wondering who's going to cancel today, and then I would have a chocolate donut. I love chocolate donuts. He says the only thing good about the donut is the hole in the middle. Anyway, so that's what he told me. I guess that's one of the stories. And then he came over to my desk and he said, "You should be eating apples and bananas and oranges. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't tell you this." I went, "Oh yeah." But he brought a man over with a very big corporation out to here, and he said, "I will take 30 pounds off of this man in 30 days," and he did. I mean, it was incredible. So I thought, oh my gosh, I quit smoking. I did all this. And he said, and his brother came over one day when we were getting ready for the show. He said, "Takes a whole year to get your nicotine out of your lungs," and he says, and then he showed holy lungs and pink lungs and black lungs. And I thought, that's the end of that. I don't want black lungs and I don't want holy lungs. So that's how I stopped smoking, and then I started listening to what all he had to say, and it went in one ear and it stayed in my brain. And so that's I guess my favorite story of Jack LaLanne.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah, well, let me talk to Danny about that.